Maybe this fall you're thinking about doing a 5K or a 10K and you'd really like to set a new PR. You'd like to run that 5K maybe a little faster, or you'd like to run the 5K, but you don't have a lot of time to prepare for it. You've only got 2 months instead of your usual 3. If that's your case, if that's your situation or your interest, you might want to consider training using a technique called reverse periodization. Hi, I'm Ralph, the Ageless runner. Thank you for being here. Now, before we talk about reverse periodization, let's talk about what we mean by standard periodization. And we're going to use an analogy of a house. When you build a house, you kind of build a foundation, get that foundation laid. It's got a big foundation. You add a story, and then before you finish that story, you add another story, and then you build it with a roof. And that's the way a lot of our training is. Typically, in standard periodization, we start with long runs, gradually building our distance. Then as we get closer to the race, we'll start maybe adding some speed work in, doing some intervals, some hill repeats, things like that, peaking in intensity with our speed maybe a couple weeks before the race. Reverse periodization does just the opposite. In reverse periodization, we focus early on the speed and the power, then add endurance. Again, still trying to peak 2 weeks before the race. So again, it's like building a house from the roof down, which it doesn't work in construction, but seems to work very well in race and running. So there's really 4 key features to reverse periodization. The first one is we've talked about early emphasis on speed and power. We start working those fast twitch muscles right away and help building and improving our running economy right from the get-go. The second key feature is we gradually shift to endurance. So we maintain these speed gains, we've got these speed gains, then we start building endurance. But we're building those long runs, we're doing those long runs at a little faster pace than we did before because we've already worked on speed and power. We're going to use that and maintain that for our long runs, for our longer endurance runs. And the third key feature is that we're emphasizing quality of workouts initially over just quantity. Rather than just running a lot of long miles early on, we're going to focus on shorter intervals, shorter hill repeats, where we can focus on form and get that quality work in there and then add those endurance miles later. And the fourth key feature I mentioned already is this time efficient. If you've got less time to prepare for a race, starting with the intense work first, adding the endurance later, may help you get ready a little quicker. So why do reverse periodization? Well, I think there's really 2 reasons. One is by focusing on the speed and intensity early on in our training when our body's fresh, and therefore we're more able to accomplish it and do it without getting overtired or having an overuse injury. This can be really helpful if you're a seasoned runner, you've got good aerobic capacity, but you're trying to break out and maybe, set a new PR at a 5K or something. That can really be helpful. And the second reason to do it is it's very time efficient. By doing that intense work first, you can actually get ready for your race a little faster, a little quicker. Especially great if you don't, have a lot of time, or you're trying to get ready for more than one race in the season. So there are benefits to reverse periodization other than just mixing things up and reversing how we may normally do things. The first one is you get some initial gains quicker. You get them early on because you're doing that intense work in the beginning. You're improving your speed, you're improving your power. You can feel that, you can see that. That's a great motivator, and that's going to help you with the rest of your training. It could be a little refreshing for you rather than starting doing all these long runs, initially gradually building it. You're going to start with something different. You're going to start with these short workouts, these intense workouts. It's a little different, keep you mentally fresh. You don't have the drudgery of doing all these long miles early on in your training. And I think a third benefit is maybe less likely to injure yourself. Because you're not doing a lot of long runs initially, you minimize the risk of overuse injuries because you're just focusing more on speed and effort in the beginning and not so much on number of miles run. You may be less likely to get an overuse injury. And the fourth benefit I've already touched on a couple times. It's great for a short season. It's the late September here as I record this. If you're here in the United States going to do a turkey trot around Thanksgiving, you've only got 2 months. If you start preparing, if not, you've only got 8 weeks to get ready. Reverse periodization may help you meet that objective. So how do we do reverse periodization? We're going to think about it in 4 phases. Phase 1 is where we build speed and power, and that's about 6 to 8 weeks. Here you're going to do the short, high-intensity things. You can do 400-meter, 800-meter relays at like a 5K pace. You can do hill workouts, intervals, short interval sprints, 30-second sprints, 20-second sprints. Do those short, intense speed work for those first 6 to 8 weeks. You can do some long runs, but don't make them too long. Keep your long runs short. I don't think that's an oxymoron, is it? But keep your long runs on the shorter side. Now, phase 2, which is roughly 4 to 6 weeks, is where we want to transition from that speed work to endurance. So you're going to start increasing your long runs. You don't eliminate all that intense work, but you're going to back off on it a little bit, start emphasizing the longer runs, gradually increasing your long runs, building up your endurance. Now, phase 3 is where we more focus on our race. That's usually 2 to 4 weeks. So we're going to back off again on our speed work, continue on with our longer runs, but our longer runs should be at a faster pace now, focusing more on our race. If you're doing a 10K, which is roughly 6 miles, you should be thinking building up to 6 miles, but running it at a faster pace that you build up from your initial speed work. So we're going to back off a little bit on intensity, keep growing our endurance, and get ready for that race. And of course, phase 4 is a taper. So about 2 weeks before your race, you should cut back on volume and intensity, kind of maintain easy running, easy pace, so that way when race day comes, you're very fresh. Now, you should look at those phases and those timings as recommendations in the spirit of doing reverse periodization. Those are not firm, must do, got to follow those timings, those exact phases. You should tailor it to your situation. What's your fitness? What's your fitness level? What are you training for? For example, the building endurance part will be different if you're doing a 5K than if you're training for a half marathon. So look at it as a guideline, look at a suggestion. The spirit of reverse periodization is to start strong, doing intense and speed work in the beginning, and gradually build endurance. And with that said, another caveat to doing reverse periodization is it's not for beginners. You should have some aerobic capacity already, either through running, swimming, biking, whatever. In other words, this is not a couch to 10K kind of program. Now, I hope you're enjoying this video, and if you're still with me, I assume you are. So could you do me a favor, scroll down and hit that like icon? That would mean a lot to me because it not only helps the video, but it helps my channel. And if you're still with me and you're enjoying this and you're not a subscriber and you'd like to keep getting useful running tips, please also consider subscribing. Thank you so much again for being here. Stay strong and happy running.